with all the readings that we've had, it's like an epic adventure. It's like a movie, The Lord of the Rings. Eating and drinking and mountains and danger and serpents and the destroyer and smoke and bushes that are blazing. Some cool stuff. And I've decided, rather than talk regarding that very cheerful gospel we just heard, I would like to offer you my sermon titled, Moses Supposes Erroneously, which is from a movie called Singing in the Rain. If you haven't seen it, watch it. One morning, when Sam was about 4 years old, and I have his permission to tell this story, we were swinging together in the backyard. And I walked over to the porch steps and I sat down. And Sam asked me, "Do you need a rest, Dad?" "A rest," I answered. "No, I don't need a rest. Sometimes I just like to pause and watch the light dance on the river." We live by a river. "Or listen to the birds or look at the clouds. This is our world, Sam," I said to him. "This is where we live." He sort of looked at me the way Plato may have looked at Socrates the day he handed him the key to the executive bathroom. Sam walked away and I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to go sit on the swing and watch the air." Not bad, huh? Not bad coming from a kid who eats grapefruit and pickles at the same time. Not bad coming from a kid who said his favorite saint was Batman. It was a moment of enlightenment. And if I had to pick my 10 most favorite stories, the burning bush story we heard this morning would be one of them, because it too is a moment of enlightenment. Its theme is wake up. Wake up to our environment. Wake up to God among us, which was also one of Jesus' signature themes. One time he prayed, he took his disciples with him, they went up to this mountain, they dozed off. He came back and said, "Wake up." Another time he preached on a mountain and he said, "Pay attention to the wildflowers and the fields and the birds. God takes care of them, God will take care of you." One time he healed someone. "She's dead," they said. Jesus answered, "No, she's just sleeping. Wake up." And the girl woke up. So many travel this world, dozing. So many seemingly sleep through life. The Walking Dead. It's kind of like shopping at Meijer, which is understandable because they don't have any oxygen in that place. You know, it's not like Family Fair. You ever gone into Family Fair? It's like 1970s and you're stepping into the disco club, you know. The Bee Gees are playing and KC and the Sunshine Band's playing on the overhead, and when we go in there, we just boogie on down the aisle and get our stuff. So many in life have lost their childlike sense of wonder, that sense of expectation. Kids are always thinking about what's right around the corner, so filled with questions and wonder. But as many of us have found, life has a way of beating that wonder out of us. We get taken, we can struggle, we make mistakes, we get burned a couple of times, betrayed, or we suffer the loss of somebody we love. And we build up layer upon layer of hardness like polish on a floor, hardening our hearts. And soon we find that we roll our eyes more often, we make cynical comments more than we used to, and we become a little more negative, closed. We fold our arms in the face of life and become one more spectator. But Jesus wants to reach into us through the layers that we've built and heal us. He wants to give us a reason to live, to put our shoes on in the morning, and to leave behind all the bitterness and overcome all those things that have taught us to fold our arms in resignation. In other words, he wants us to wake up. Now, in our story, Moses is tending his father-in-law's sheep in the land of Midian when he comes upon a burning bush. The bush, it was not right in front of him. It was up there because Moses, our text says, had to turn aside to see why the bush wasn't burned up. He could have seen the flash of red out of the corner of his eye and said, "Oh, how pretty," and just kept on with his sheep, going down the road, boogieing on down the road, without ever discovering, what else his life could have been about, without discovering who God is. What made him Moses was his willingness to turn aside. He'd been tending the sheep for 40 years. How many times had he passed that same spot? How many times had he stood in that exact place? So he wanted to check it out, a burning bush. And God told him, "Take off your sandals." Not because the ground is hot, but because it's holy. Had the ground been holy all the time? And Moses becoming aware of it? Do you and I walk on holy ground all the time? And we are moving so fast and returning so many phone calls and writing so many emails and texts, hopefully not while you're driving, and having so much to get done that we miss it? What makes you, you, is your willingness to turn aside and to notice. Moses asks the voice speaking from the burning bush, "Who are you?" And God replied, "I am." Didn't really clear things up, did it? Even sounds kind of strange to us today. Why did God answer that way? Moses erroneously, deity that he can wrap his head around. Is this the God of water? Are you the God of fire? Are you the God of war or fertility? I can understand them. They have a shape, they have a form, but this God is different. This God is mysterious and unfathomable. And God said, bingo. Well, that's what it says in my Bible anyway. I am is God's name. I am has the action of a verb. It's a moving word. I am who I am. I will be who I will be. It's like God is saying, is it your goal to figure me out and totally understand me? Well, that's not going to happen. Even my name is more than you can comprehend. The moment God is all figured out with nice, neat lines and definitions and graphs and charts, we are no longer dealing with God. We are dealing with somebody we made up. And if we follow the story, you'll see that Moses discovers this. He discovers by asking lots of questions of this mysterious God, which is really great because I like digging deeper and asking questions myself. Abraham asked questions. Moses asked. David asked questions like, how long, O Lord, must I wrestle with what I'm wrestling with? Psalm 13. The prophet asks questions. Nicodemus asks questions. Peter, Paul, and Mary, who had plans to form a trio, a folk trio, but never got around to it, they had questions. Mary asked, how can this be? I am a virgin. Even Jesus asked questions. This is because God doesn't want people to just sit there and mindlessly accept whatever comes their way. Truth always leads to more truth. Truth is insight into God, and God is infinite. It's like what the great theologian Sean Penn said. When everything is answered, it's fake. The mystery is the truth. And concerning God's people, God tells Moses in our story, I've seen the misery. I've heard your cry. I know your suffering. God is truly wanting to enter into whatever it is that's causing you concern. God deeply feels what you have to endure on a daily basis, which I found to be true. When in my darkest valley, God did not save me from it. God saved me in it. I am forever with you. I am ready to transform you. Anyone who's willing to turn aside before any burning bush. Well, I'd like to finish with one other holy ground story. And it was at a place called Regency Assisted Living Facility in wherever we used to live, Lexington. We met monthly for a service there, and I always seemed to bump into this Father Stone. He was a Roman Catholic priest who always seemed to be in a hurry. And he reminded me of Barnabas Collins from Dark Shadows. Passing in the hallways, hi, was about the only word I ever got from him. And he was off on his tight schedule, his head down, he's on a mission. And honestly, I didn't think he radiated much joy or happiness. And I know I'm judging, and I also know many joyful Roman Catholic brothers and sisters. But that was just my impression of Father Stone. I did get one other word out of him in the couple of years that we went to Regency Medical Facility. It was a warm day in July. Warm day, and we're in the medical facility, and they put us in this big room, a double-doored room, really big room, and they brought the residents in, and we set up our communion, and we got our instruments out. Christy and I played guitar, and Gloria played the auto harp, and Earl played the gut bucket. You know what a gut bucket is? It's about a 5-foot stick, and it's stuck in an upside-down metal bucket. And it's got one string from the top, goes all the way down to the bottom, and you just kind of lean the stick on your belly or your gut, and you play it. It's like one note, boom, boom, boom. Play it with any song. Real conversation starter, too. We started playing some old favorite songs, and the group just didn't seem to be into it. They weren't motivated. You know, their heads were down, and some were sleeping, and not much singing at all. And maybe they just had their meds, I wondered, or maybe they were just bored, or maybe they're getting depressed. I don't know, but it just wasn't happening. So in the middle of the service, I did something different. I said, does anybody have any requests? And Glenn London of ice cream fame, a very nice Christian man, raised his hand. Yes, Glenn, what is your request? I asked. Glenn said, Silent Night. And I said it was July, didn't I? It's July. Nor was it night. But we looked at each other and we thought, why not? So we began a nice rhythm with our guitars. Silent night, holy night, all is come. And people's eyes began to open, and their heads rose, and they began to smile, and the voices were raised, and the staff and nurses and some administrative people, they paused and looked into the door, and they stood there for a while, and they began to sing. And by the end of the first verse, we probably tripled our size of the crowd, and everybody was singing. What joy! What a special impromptu moment. All because of Glenn and Jesus. It was holy ground. And right about at that time, Father Stone came speeding by. And he stopped, and he leaned into the doorway, and he kind of looked around to see what was going on. And I saw him. I saw his face. I said, Merry Christmas! And he spoke the only other word I ever heard him say. He rolled his eyes, and he said, Protestants. And he walked away. Oh, God bless you, Father Stone. I believe Jesus walks with us, lives within us, and ahead of us, so we can become more alive and aware, orienting ourselves around the God who is the ground of our being. So may we turn aside and pay attention and wake up to the electricity that lights up the house, the energy, the glue, the force, the life, the power, the song, the love, and the inspiration that makes all the difference in living. Amen.